JP show. It's still funny for me to say that. It was the idea of my coach, and it's actually an idea I've had for a long time. I thought about doing a live show, a podcast. I was going to call it The World According to JP. This was back in like 2013, 2014, after my friends had been calling me JP for a couple of years. And, I thought like I knew stuff and I should do a show. I have a different perspective now, which I think I know a few things, but not everything, right? There's some humility, I think, that comes with getting older and having some failures, challenges, opportunities in your life. And that's kind of what I got going on now. Okay, so thank you guys for being here. If you're watching this live, if you're watching this on the replay, thank you for watching it on the replay. Today, I'm going to be talking about Pinterest in 2023. I wanted a really succinct title. And I also wanted you to know, like, this may not work in the future, but it probably will. Because what I'm going to be sharing with you today about Pinterest is a mindset, a way to think about Pinterest. I just heard today that Pinterest is like the comeback kid in 2023. And I was like, really? I'm like, I didn't think Pinterest ever left, but okay. Like, and I think that probably comes from an experience you guys might have had where maybe you had like really, really great results in Pinterest, back in like 2014, 2016, 2017, even 2020, even during the pandemic. And then you weren't getting those same results anymore. And you're like, well, what gives? Right. So we've got a few different camps of people. We've got the people who've been on Pinterest before and had success. They're not having success now. It's very frustrating. Everything that we knew that worked isn't working anymore. And that's super upsetting. And then we have another camp of people who are still getting results on Pinterest. They're still working on it. They're still going strong. They're probably not watching this because they already are doing things that are working. And then we have the people that never have used Pinterest, right? Maybe they just used it for personal. And they're like, okay, I've got a business now. I want to start using Pinterest to promote my business. Or I want to start using Pinterest in managing Pinterest accounts for other people and being a strategist, right? Being a VA, being whatever, a scheduler, social media manager, Pinterest manager. But you don't know all the things, right? You don't know what works. So this is for all of the people above. Even if you're on Pinterest and things are working right now, I think there are some things that will be useful here. And let me see, there was something I wanted to say that I wanted to make sure I said at the beginning. I don't remember. So on this show, I am going to be talking about things like wellness, mindset, health, I don't even want to say the word health, right? Is that a tricky word? Because like, I know when we're blogging, we don't want to say health. I know I've worked with sponsors that are on like, that sell a certain product, right? Maybe they sell a medication or something, back in the day when I was blogging weight loss stuff and whatever. And you can't use the word health, but we're going to talk about it. And all of that in the context of like building this life, right? Building a business that supports the life you want to leave, the life you want to lead, building a lifestyle that supports you. These are things that I live in my daily life. In fact, I started a new job a little while ago. We had a meeting today, kind of a review session, and we talked about where I could improve. And like my number one place of improvement is work-life balance. And not because things are like crazy, but it's because it's something I'm always looking to work on, right? I love what I do for work. I really enjoy my job. There's a song by Dirty Heads called Vacation, and I listen to it almost every day when I'm going to work because I think about whether I'm working here or I'm working at the job. Because I think about like one of the lines in the song says, "Every day is I love my occupation. Every day is a vacation because I love my occupation." Like it's super cute. Like you have to listen to it. But not but, and uh, it's something I'm always working on, right? Something I'm always aware of. I've had a lot of people ask me like, how do you have the kind of lifestyle that you have without having to work 24/7? And how did I even have space to go take on a job, right? As a marketing director for a company, like that's a whole new thing. Super fun. I really love what I do. Um, And so I wanted to share that, and that's where my coach came up with the JP show. So today we're talking about Pinterest. It might be like, what does this have to do with anything? So the reason that I talk a lot about Pinterest, one is I am a Pinterest expert, but that came about because I was looking for a way to get traffic to my own site. I was looking for a way to increase revenue. I was looking to not work so much. At that time, I was I was burning the candle at both ends, right? I had an Etsy shop with over 600 items in it. I had a subscription box club. I taught craft classes. So I packed boxes every month and mailed them all over the world. I had to source all the products for that. I had to package all the products for that. I had people that helped me. Thank goodness. And my family stepped up and helped me a ton. I had people packaging orders for Etsy, my family doing that, running the post office. I was teaching craft classes. I was managing social media for multiple brands, running an agency. I had, during a period of time in there, I had a retail location where I had people actually working for me, and my friends who were so dear and so amazing went down there and worked in my booth in my shop inside this giant warehouse, like done all these things. And I was on the verge of burnout. And I remember having a conversation with my friend, Kathy Cano Mario, who's Crafty Chica, who I just had coffee with this last weekend. It was so great down in Phoenix. Um, and she was like, "Oh my God, Jen, you have to start working with sponsors and you have to start making money with ads on your blog." And up to that point, from 2007 to 2014 or so, I had only seen my blog really as a place to promote my other products. I was teaching online classes. I had the kit subscription club that people could get scrapbooking supplies every month from me. I was teaching craft classes in person at different places. We hosted a big retreat down in Palm Springs back in like 2011, I think. So I was just using it to promote all the things in my business, really using it as marketing, but I hadn't monetized it really. Like I had some affiliate links here and there. I think somewhere in 2013, I did a sponsored blog post with Toyota. It was like $50 that I made. And I was like, I made it. I thought it was amazing. Um, but I wasn't really monetizing it, and Kathy was like, "Jen, you gotta do this." And I started looking around at like the different ad networks and the different sponsors that were working with people, and they all wanted page views. And I had a pretty solid social media following, but it was really small. I had a solid email list, but it was really small. And I had some traffic, but here's what happened. So I had an old site called Hydrangea Hippo. You guys can still see it. It's I don't know, 15 iterations later, but it's still up. And it got hacked and it got blacklisted by Google. So I was getting, I think, 30,000 page views a month. I went down to 10,000 page views a month, and I couldn't figure out how to get the traffic back. So I just started a whole new site. And there were other reasons for why I started a site, branding. And when I was talking to brands like Toyota, they didn't understand what I did, et cetera. There's a whole story with that. Um, but all these things happened that I was like, I've got to figure out a way to get traffic. And so I looked to Pinterest, right? When I asked other bloggers, I asked other businesses, they're like, dude, Pinterest is the thing for traffic. And so I really dug in, and it took me about 2 years to really figure it out. I thought I was doing all the things. I thought I was doing everything that the experts say. And the real problem with it was my thinking. It was the way I was approaching Pinterest. And when I changed that, everything changed. So I started getting a crazy amount of traffic within 6 months. I increased my traffic 1,800% and got over 200,000 page views a month. Got to join an ad network. They put ads on my site. So now anybody that visits, they get to see ads. I make some money, right? It's all great. So you might be thinking, well, okay, that's great, Jennifer. That worked for you in 2016. Like, what about now? This is 7 years later. And the things that I did back then, right? The things that I did that are in the mindset I'm going to tell you about today are the things that are still working. All of the tactics, the techniques, the hacks, the gimmicks, all those things, that stuff doesn't work anymore, right? It worked for a time and it doesn't work now. But what I'm going to teach you is the underlying thinking that has helped me have that traffic all these years and that is behind my teaching. So not only have I helped other people build their Pinterest followings, I've built my own following and made a lot of money with it. I've worked with big brands, I've spoken on stages, I've been on podcasts. Next week, I'm actually speaking about Pinterest at Craftcation, which is one of my favorite conferences in the world. If you are any kind of crafty maker, handmade, entrepreneur, creative business, you've got to go check out Craftcation. I don't have an affiliate link. I love my affiliate links, but it's worth it to go check it out. I would tell you about it anyways, even if I didn't have affiliate link, just like I'm telling you about it right now. So, anyways, uh, Pinterest was really behind a lot of that success. Now, is it behind all of it? No. Like that would be a lie, right? I know, and I've probably said this on a webinar. In fact, you can probably find it somewhere on the internet where I was like, Pinterest is the answer to all your problems. Like that's just what we do for marketing stuff. Which I don't really do that stuff anymore. Pinterest is part of the big picture, right? It's part of creating that organic revenue machine, that organic traffic machine that is going to help you get the most benefit. Oh man, I thought I was doing this in, let's try to do this in a better resolution. Hopefully we get better resolution this time. Okay, so I'm using a tool called Restream. It's super rad. I can give you my affiliate link if you want to sign up for it. Okay, so all my friends laugh because I'm always like, "Oh, I have an affiliate link for that." Uh, but I mean, that's what marketers do, right? We're just always thinking like there's an opportunity here. Okay, so let's get into the Pinterest stuff. I didn't think I was going to have 11 and a half minutes of me chattering, but I think this helps put things into some context. Um, for what I'm going to be sharing, right? And that it actually works, right? And just come up with this, well, some of it I came up with on my own, but a lot of it was testing, watching what worked, doing research, collaborating with other Pinterest experts and finding out, okay, well, where are they doing this working? Like, and having conversations with them, right? Some really cool people that have been really awesome in helping me along the way. So, I don't think Pinterest ever really left, but we can agree that Pinterest has changed, right? So things are definitely different. So let's look at what's working in 2023. And I think you're going to be surprised by what I say. So first, I'm going to go over some mistakes that people are making on Pinterest. I've got four main mistakes, and there'll probably be more as I'm talking. If you have any questions as we're going through this, even if you're watching on the replay, definitely leave me a comment. I would love to have a discussion with you. If we're doing this live, I can answer your question here. But if you're watching on the replay, cool. I'll answer your question when you put it in the comments. I do monitor my stuff. If I don't answer you, it means I legit didn't see it. So tag me, right? I absolutely do want to answer your questions. Okay, so the first mistake is being focused on number-based tasks. I can't even tell you guys. I'm going to add this here. So mistake number 1 is number-based tasks. And this is something that I'm saying directly in response to many things that I've where did it go? I just posted it here. It just is gone. Oh, there it is. Okay. Mistake number 1, number-based tasks. And you might be wondering if you're watching this on my personal stuff. I'm just streaming it everywhere. Like you might have a business. You might know someone who's in a business. Like go share this with them, right? Or watch it for yourself. Okay. So number-based tasks are things like how many pins I should pin per day, how many times I should repin, how many pins should I have per post, oh, I want to know what your Pinterest I see this in Facebook groups all the time. And this is the one that I saw yesterday and today. Tell me how you post on Pinterest, right? And they're like, well, I upload directly to Pinterest and then I pin 5 times on Tailwind over 6 months, or, it's like, that is old thinking. I'm going to go through the mistakes first, and then I'm going to talk about why we do them. And then I'm going to talk about what to do instead, because it all kind of overlaps and goes together. So when you find yourself asking those questions, how many pins, how often, how many boards, right? Focused on number-based tasks, that is a sign that you're in old thinking, right? And it's not bad. That stuff used to work. We used to be able to be like, you should pin 20 times a day and have 50 pins on a blog post and all kinds of weird stuff that we would tell people to do because it kind of worked, right? Like I did that stuff. I gave that advice. Like there's probably a guarantee a podcast or 2 or 12 that I say something like that, like go on number of pins, blah, blah, blah. It's just old thinking, right? It just doesn't work now. Is it bad? No, it just doesn't work anymore. That's it. That's it. So, okay, cool. Let's not do that anymore and then we'll do something new and I'll tell you about that. Second mistake, pinning without research. Now, when we talk about research on Pinterest, I'm talking about search engine optimization. So Pinterest is this weird animal, kind of in its own little column. It's not totally a search engine, it's not totally social media, but it has these elements of both and it really does function on search. In fact, I was just talking with my friend Kathy about TikTok. And I think we were even talking about Instagram too. And most of those are really starting to function like search as well. So it's not something that like this thinking is only unique to Pinterest. What I'm sharing here is going to help you on every other social network too. Okay, so it's not just unique to Pinterest. That's how people are finding things. That's how the platform classifies things. It looks at the keywords on the pin or the post or the image or whatever it is that you're posting to any platform, and it tries to figure out what it's about so it knows who to show it to. That's it. It's extremely simple like that. We can get really complicated with it and really in the nitty-gritty. And I find that when we get that granular for most of us in our businesses, it's not going to equate to thousands of dollars in a difference of income. It just does. It just isn't. So we don't need to, most of us do not need to get that granular. The only time I've had to get super, super granular like that is when I was working with $100 million a year company. That was it. I did not have to get that granular with anybody else because with that company, those kind of decisions are equaling $10,000. You know, that for us, it might be a $20 difference. So we don't need to dig that deep. Okay. It's very simple how the platforms work as far as the understanding that we need to have in order to function on them and get the results that we want. So pinning without research, you're going to need to do keyword research, right? What type of words people are typing into Pinterest to find the kind of content that I have, right? That's what keyword research is. Essentially, what kind of words, which words, in what combination do I need to put on my post, on my content so that people will find it on that platform. So that's very SEO, right? You can do like I say all the time, what's good for Pinterest is good for Google. What's good for Google is good for Pinterest. Pretty much the stuff you're going to do for Google is good for Pinterest. That said, we have to understand that on Pinterest, our pin is going to show up in the Pinterest ecosystem, right? So people on Pinterest might be using different words than we use on Google to search for the same thing, right? On Google, they might put a whole phrase. On Pinterest, they might just put a couple words, right? It might look different. Now, don't take that to say all the time this is what happens on Google and all the time that's what happens on Pinterest. I'm just giving that as an example that people tend to search a little bit differently on Pinterest than they do on Google. So we do still need to do that keyword research on Pinterest, even though we're already doing it for Google, Bing, et cetera, the other search engines. That said, we have to also look at how our pin shows up in the search results. So just like on Google, right, you might have a plugin on your site like Yoast SEO or some kind of SEO option where you can say, okay, this is how I want the title to show up on Google and the description to show up on Google, and you can type that in. And we can do that on Pinterest, right? We got the pin title and the pin description. But the other thing that shows up on Pinterest that's the big eye catcher is the graphic, the image, the video, the idea pin, whatever it is that the graphic part of it, the visual part of it. Pinterest is a visual search engine. So a lot of people do is they're going to go get a pin template. They're going to get an optimized pin template. And oh my gosh, you guys can go back to my last Facebook Lives to see what I feel about optimized pin templates. It's not going to do all the work for you. You've got to go and look at where your pin is going to show up. You know, what is showing up in those searches, so you know how to make your pin look to compete in that space. Because when we search for different keywords, we find different looks, different graphic design, different approaches. things function differently there. So we've got to do that research. And that's at a very cursory level of how to do the visual research. I'm just saying, okay, make sure you do your keyword research and your visual research. I'm not telling you everything of how to do it because that's a whole training, right, inside of a program. And I do have a program that teaches you how to do Pinterest traffic strategy. It's called Smart Pin Pro. If you want to know more about it, just go to smartpin.pro, Pro, and that site will take you exactly where you need to go. And if you want to get the training and all that stuff, it's all there. But we can't go into that depth here. It's just not the right context. And I want to make sure that you're successful. Okay. I'm not trying to be like, here's some stuff that's going to send you off and solve all your problems and then you don't get results, right? I don't want that to happen. Okay, so pinning without doing the visual and keyword research. The second thing is repinning, saving / spamming the crap out of Pinterest. So, and I was someone that did this, you guys, and it worked so good. It worked so good. And Tailwind had this product called Smart Loop, where like what we used to do is we would pin the same pin over and over and over and over and over, and it worked so great. Right. So everybody started doing that because it worked so good. And Tailwind came out with this tool called Smart Loop, and it helped automate that. So you could say, I want you to pin to the same board every 30 days, every 10 days. Like I got a little aggressive with it. And I even created a program called Smart Loop on steroids where I taught other people how to do this because it worked. And then Pinterest was like, whoa, pump the brakes on that. That is spammy. And so if you're doing any of that, it's spammy, right? If you're doing any of that because someone said to repin, because you've always repinned, because you've pinned over and over and it worked in the past, that's something we've got to change and do differently now. Can you still repin? Can you save to another board? So in case you're new to Pinterest, repinning is just like the pin is, you put the pin on Pinterest once, that's the first time, that's called the save. And then after you save it, then you can save it again to other boards. So you could, I have a post IKEA craft rooms, right? I'll save it to my IKEA craft rooms board, but then I might also save it to IKEA craft rooms, craft organizing, right? There's all kinds of boards I can save it to. But we don't want to be doing that necessarily just for the reason of, oh, I always repin and it used to work and I want it to work again. There are really strategic ways to use repinning or saving again. And so we just want to make sure that we're doing it that way. And then the final mistake is hashtags, right? And hashtags is an example of just old things that used to work that don't work anymore, right? There was a point in time where hashtags were functional on Pinterest. You could put the hashtag on there. You could click it. It helped Pinterest better understand what your pin was about. Users could interact with them and click with them. And then that functionality went away. So all those pins that we have that have hashtags on them still are still on Pinterest, but they're not clickable. They don't work in the same way. So it's not that hashtags are bad or that you're stupid if you're using hashtags. That's not it. It's something that we used to teach because it used to work. And something changed on Pinterest and now it doesn't work. So we just got to change it, right? It's not bad that you're doing it. It's just, okay, it's not going to give you results, right? It just doesn't work anymore. And I like to try to take the judgment out of it because a lot of times we can start to tie our worth to these things. I know I do this and I'm like, oh my God, I'm so stupid. I'm making this mistake. I didn't know. No, it used to work. It used to work for all of us. Many of us have taught that. There's still a bajillion YouTube videos and blog posts and all that stuff with that information on it. Like it's not bad. It just doesn't work anymore. So let's talk about, and that leads me into why do we do these things? Why are people still doing these things? So a lot of this stuff used to work. We used to get results, and it's really, really hard to change how we do things. And I think about like, it's almost like getting older, right? Like the platforms, as they get older, they evolve and they change. And it's just like us getting older. If I want to lose weight, like when I was 18, what did I do? I ran 11 miles, 14 miles, 7 miles, like crazy amounts of running. It was awesome and I loved it. Now I'm 45 and I can't run. So if I want to lose weight now, I can't just be like, I'm going to eat that ice cream and then I'm going to run 11 miles. That doesn't work, right? I've changed, right? My ecosystem has changed as I've gotten older. It's the same with Pinterest. It's not bad. It's not good. It's not right. It's not wrong. It just is. And it's really hard for us to let go of what used to work because our brain is like, that used to give me results. Of course, I'm going to do it that same way, right? But have to evolve with the platform. The other thing is hacks, gimmicks, and tricks. Oh my, like so enticing when somebody's like, I have Pinterest hacks that are going to give you massive traffic. Like, and I marketed like this too. I admit it. Um, it's really enticing. And so we want the shortcut. We want the secret. We want the special secret sauce. We think that somebody knows something that I don't, and they're gonna like unlock the magic for me, that I'm gonna execute everything it just in a certain way and magic's going to happen. It makes me think of, if you've ever seen the movie Kung Fu Panda, the lead character Po, the panda, who's played by Jack Black. He wants to learn this one move and he's like, if you do it certain, exactly specifically special, and I think the end of it ends with like your pinky up or something really silly, then like it creates an explosion, right? And so I think that sometimes we want that. We want like, I just want to know the perfect way to execute it, and then kablamo, all this traffic is going to come. And we're conditioned to look for shortcuts. We're conditioned to look for hacks and gimmicks and tricks and things like that. But that's just old thinking, right? And so it's recognizing, oh, this is this when I want that. Oh, it's old thinking. It's not going to serve me going forward. It's not going to help me have long-term success, right? Because hacks, gimmicks, and tricks, those things all expire. They work for a little bit amount of time and then they don't. And so when we get dependent on those, when those things stop working, we feel abandoned by the platform. We feel so frustrated because when we're dependent on things like that that we're working, we stop continually looking for new opportunities. The platforms are always changing constantly. There are always new opportunities. But when we get so like, oh, all this is working, and we check out, right? What I see happen is people do hacks and gimmicks and those things and they work and for a little bit of time. And then that causes people to check out. When they check out, they now miss all these opportunities to grow and change. And so then when all of a sudden, it seems like all of a sudden those hacks and gimmicks don't work, they feel like they're falling off a cliff. I used to see these posts all the time in Facebook groups. My Pinterest traffic just fell off a cliff. Well, it didn't. It gradually got there because the changes that are made on the platforms are very, very gradual. But it feels like it fell off a cliff because you're dependent on hacks and gimmicks and those kinds of things that didn't have longevity, right? They weren't going to work in the long term. And so we end up setting ourselves up for failure because we stop continually looking at opportunities where we can get the results that we want. And then the other reason why this works, and I want to tell you guys this is 100% not our fault. We are conditioned this way. Absolutely, if you grew up in the United States and you went to any type of school or institution, this is not your fault. School trains us to look for steps to follow so we will be obedient factory workers. I worked with a client who is into, or she creates lots of content and is a expert and a total mover and shaker in the unschooling space, and I learned so much working with her on her content, etc. We're trained by school to look for like, just tell me the step by step, just tell me the steps to focus, get my brain out of it, get my objections out of it, just tell me what to do, right? We're trained by school to do that. So no wonder we go into marketing, we go into doing things in our business and we're looking for like, just tell me the steps of what to do. Well, no, we want to have critical thinking. We want to be creative. School is training that out of us, right? But especially those of us that are in our 40s and older, school has trained that out of us. And so we've got to go back and embrace that. So that's why we have that tendency to ask for, oh, I want number-based tasks and those kinds of things, because that's what school trained us to do. Like, no wonder we're having to fight all this training. We had, whatever, what is it, 12? If you were in preschool, 15 years. If you went to college, oh my God, like 24 years of training to think like a cog in the machine. So we're just working against that. So when we recognize that, we can do something else instead. So what should we do instead on Pinterest than these mistakes that I told you about? Number one, use Pinterest. A lot of people got frustrated. They left Pinterest. You might be in this boat. You're like, my old pins are working for me. Nothing new works. I'm out. No, you got to use Pinterest. You can't get results if you don't show up. Well, hold on. You can. So there was a company that I met their SEO guy. He's a Google SEO guy. I met him at a conference, and you might have heard this story before if you've been following me for a while. And he was telling me that this company he was working with was getting a ton of Pinterest traffic. They don't have a Pinterest account. They've never been on Pinterest. They've never done anything. And I asked him what the industry was, and he was like, industrial conveyor belts. So people were finding their stuff and pinning it themselves. And that's a roll of the dice. If you're like, well, if it happened for them, it can happen for me because I make crafts and people love crafts on Pinterest. So I'm just going to just not do anything and they're going to pin my stuff. That can happen, but it really is a gamble. Or you can then optimize everything and make sure that it's going to perform as best as possible, right? You can optimize yourself because in that case, it was just that people were pinning stuff and they actually had really good SEO. So that helped them on Pinterest, but it really is a roll of the dice. So take the time to show up and optimize your content you're going to put on Pinterest. That way it will work for you, right? This is something that I teach how to do inside of my program because it's not that it's simple and it's not, right? There are some nuances to it. There are some ways to be more efficient doing it. And so and I teach a lot of that. We do a lot of workflow inside my program. So if you're like, I don't even know where to start, awesome. Let's talk. We can start with a direct message conversation. We can start a conversation in the comments here, to find out, okay, what is it that you need, right? Because I do want to help you have success. So that goes into do the research on Pinterest, right? That visual and that keyword research I was talking about. Do it before you create your content. I like to do it at the same time I'm doing all my SEO research on Google. And if you're like, well, I do my SEO after I write my content, I'm like, well, how do you decide what you write about? Flip it. Do that research, your SEO research on Pinterest, on Google, on YouTube, wherever you're going to post your content. Do that before you create. It's going to help them so much. It's going to inform what you write. It's going to inform what you create, what you put in your script. If you're doing a video, what you write on the blog, whatever you're putting it. But it's also going to inform your graphics. I remember there's an example. Pinterest has since evolved a little bit since then, but there's an example of this bundt cake that I uploaded to Pinterest as a test. Because Pinterest has an AI that reads the image, right? It reads the image. All I did is upload a bundt cake picture that I got from a stock photo site. And Pinterest thought it was a lemon meringue pie because of the way it was sliced and the way that it looked and the coloration on it. It looked like toasted meringue on the top, and it was actually like the crust of the cake, of the bundt cake. So Pinterest got it wrong. If I knew that by doing my research, right, and there's some workflows I share inside my program with this, I could change my photos. I could take more different photos, right? I could be like, well, what are people putting on there? How are they photographing their bundt cake so that Pinterest knows it's a bundt cake and not lemon meringue pie? And so if I waited until after I created all the content, now I don't have, especially for food bloggers, DIY bloggers, you may not have that product, that end result in front of you anymore to photograph when you have the realization that it's not nailing it, right? And so you want to do that visual research ahead of time so that then you can plan your photo shoots with that. Right? You can go into it and be like, I've got enough images. Maybe everything in that feed has a blue background. And so all you can do is change it to a hot pink background, change it to a black background, try white. But you're not going to know to do that if you didn't do the visual research up front. You'll know at the end when you're like, oh, well, my pin's not performing. Oh, okay, because it looks like everything else. Well, what if we could just minimize all of that? right? So do that research ahead of time before you create your content. Treat Pinterest search engine optimization just like you would treat it for Google, Bing, YouTube, etc. The third thing, and I have 4 things to share with you, so I kind of want to let you know I'm winding down on time a little bit. Catch your thinking. A lot of times I'll even find myself like I'm looking for a number. How many emails should I send for this sale? How many pins per day? Catch your thinking. If you're looking for a number, be like, oh, that's because I was trained in school to do that. I was trained to just do step by step by step, and magic will happen and I don't have to think about it. So just catch yourself. Why am I looking for a number here? Why am I looking for a shortcut? What is it that I really want to accomplish? And that will really help you with coming up, okay, what are the steps I got to take to get there? What needs to happen in order for me to get the results I want? Instead of being so focused on a number, right? You don't want to know what number of pins per day to do. You want to know, how do I get traffic with Pinterest? How do I sell my products on Pinterest? How do I get the results that I want? And so it's really like going into, okay, what is it I really want? We don't want a number. And then here's the biggest takeaway I want you guys to take from this when it comes to pinning. And this doesn't matter if it's a new pin or an old pin or a repin or a whatever, a new pin graphic for an old post from 2012. Doesn't matter. Pin when you have new information to give to Pinterest. If you only ever do that, that could like totally change everything you do on Pinterest. So pin only when you have new information to give to Pinterest. And this is really focusing on Pinterest as a search platform. So most of us who are experienced bloggers, which and have had a business for a while, which is most of you, we don't have the time or the desire to go and submit our blog posts to Google Search Console every day. We're like, hey, Google, guess what? Today's Tuesday. You haven't looked at my blog today. Go check out this post. No, we don't do that, but we do that on Pinterest. And it used to work. It used to work and it doesn't work anymore. So when do we tell Google to go back and crawl a page on our website or a blog post? We have new information. Now, there are other things that qualify as new information on Pinterest because we've got boards and we've got other pins and we've got all this stuff going on. And there are a lot of opportunities there to pin besides just when you have a brand new blog post or when you've updated a blog post, because most of you are really smart. In fact, all of you are probably really smart. And you're probably like, okay, when do I have new information? Okay, it's a new blog post. It's updating an old blog post. Okay, we got that. But there are other opportunities besides that. But if you just measure every time you're pinning a pin and you say, what new information is me pinning this giving to Pinterest? This will save you so much time, so much wasted effort, and it will help you not look spammy. Because most of the time, if you're doing any old thinking, and this will help eliminate you doing old thinking, if you're like, well, I got to repin this to 5 boards. Okay, well, hold on. If I pin it to 5 boards, what new information am I giving to Pinterest each time I pin it to each subsequent board after the first one? And it's just going to really change what kind of results you get. So I'd love to know what you guys think about that. If you, I kept mistake number 1 up the whole time. So I'd love to know what you guys think about that. If you have tried that, and if we need to go a little deeper on that, like definitely let me know. All right, so that's it for today. I just wanted to give you that quick update. This is the JP Show. I will be going live right now as of Tuesdays at 5:28 p.m. Mountain Time. Now, where I live in Arizona, we don't change times. So today, that's Pacific time. Other times during the year, that's Mountain Time. And I apologize if it's confusing. I didn't know that when I moved here that I was going to have this weird calendar stuff. But as of this recording, this show will be at 5:28 p.m. Mountain Arizona time, which happens to be Pacific time right now. And I'll be here every Tuesday. I probably won't be here next Tuesday because I'm going to be traveling to Ventura, California to speak at Craftcation. And I don't really know where I'm going to be at 528. Now, I do want to give you some insight. Why did I choose 528? Because that is the frequency of love, 528 megahertz. All right. So, with that, I'm going to wrap up and I will see you guys here again soon. And I really look forward to your comments and questions.